Welcome to Thrive in Sales, a sales training and thriving podcast. Hi, I'm Neeraj. I'm an interactive sales trainer and a one-to-one coach. I get results for small businesses and deliver training to large corporates like Barclays, NatWest, and Sainsbury's. I am the author of 2 best-selling books.
And I'm Keith. I've sold technology services into investment banking and other corporates throughout my sales career. And I sales-led one of the largest ever software outsourcing deals worth well over $1 billion. I'm also a visiting lecturer with Aston Business School.
Now, every week we'll be sharing proven strategies to help you generate more sales. Plus, we'll bring experts onto the show to give you the knowledge, strategies, and takeaways you need to thrive in sales. And this week's topic is listening, and our special guest this week is Mags OBrien. Now, Mags is a life transformation specialist. She inspires calmness and confidence in people to help them overcome bereavement, fear, and challenging life situations which would otherwise be overwhelming. And this gives people the ability to be calm and to think clearly while the storm is raging around inside them. Mags, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here. And thank you so much for inviting me.
You're very welcome.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Well, today's topic is going to be the importance of listening. So I had a conversation with a client earlier on this week, and they're really struggling. The reps are really struggling to kind of get to the next stage with a customer. And the reason was, having listened back to the phone calls, you know, they're doing the features, they're doing the benefits, the values, but they're not listening. And if you don't listen, you miss out on so much. And I really wanted to talk about why listening is important and also what you get from listening. So Mags, whenever you listen to people from a sales perspective, how does that help you kind of move forward?
For me, listening to people, I set my conversations up so that I ask an open question and it's all about the prospect and what they need. I have this vision in front of me with their hands on their hips going, what's in it for me? And so therefore I ask them first what their situation is, what's going on with them, because then in my mind, I'm then thinking, I'm listening to them, and then that gives me information to then say, how can I serve them? How can I help them? But I'm listening first. Because if you don't listen to them and if you don't serve what they need, then there's no point in having the conversation. And they don't care what the solution is as long as it gives them the results they want. So we do need to listen.
Wonderful. I totally agree with that. Keith, what do you want to add to that, please?
Yeah, listening, well, first of all, salespeople can kind of drive you mad. The average salespeople, no salesperson will ever admit that they're average, but mathematically they have to exist. So the average salesperson talks far too much. It's like show up and throw up. And real sales, real persuasion takes place when you're listening. And it should be approximately 25%, I believe, talking, 75% listening, or thereabouts. But certainly the balance is that the customer or prospect should do more talking than the salesperson. And listening is so much more than just letting the other person talk. It's so much more than shutting up and being quiet. Listening is a real skill. It takes a long time to hone that skill and that quality. And I'll say more a bit about that and a cautionary tale in a minute maybe. But that's my 2 pence for Neeraj. What about you?
Yeah, for me, I've written down I've had a look at some sales training notes from previous sessions I've done. So listening helps you ask better questions. And when you ask better questions, you can give better solutions and help the client. And really, that's what sales is. Sales is about helping people get what they want. And when you listen, you can do that. And the second reason about why it's very important is credibility. So when a client tells me something and I listen to it, because I'm a massive note taker and I take notes on what they say. And if 2 weeks later, or even 2 months later, I mention something they told me previously, you'd be surprised the number of clients who are impressed by that and think, oh, this guy actually cares about my business because they've listened to what I've had to say. And that for me is why listening is so important. It gives you that credibility. and it also helps you build trust as well.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. And because if you're not listening, yeah, how are you going to know what to ask? Because great insight and great credibility comes from asking really insightful questions of your customer. It's asking great questions is another opportunity to impress and gain trust, credibility, and all those things that we thrive on in the world of sales.
Yeah. So Mags, we've talked about why listening is important, and that's good. But how do you actually listen to somebody? Can you give our listeners some examples of how to listen to people better?
Yeah, sure. So the things that I do that help. So before I've done this session with you guys, I've been really busy this morning. So the first thing I did, like 10 minutes before I went for a walk, I cleared my desk, I got my water, and the only thing I've got, especially in this online world, the only thing I've got open on my browser is this. So first thing is to get yourself in a state where you're feeling calm and that you can be present, because I don't know about you guys, but you can tell when somebody's not with you when you're talking to them. So, you've got that energy, you've got that contact. But if somebody's, if I was doing this and looking at something else, you would feel that energy going somewhere else. So the first thing is to get yourself centered and get yourself in a good, calm place, ready for the conversation, whether it's online, which it has to be now, but even if it's live. And that way you're present and you're listening. So that's what I do. And I'll also sit quietly and just breathe, just put attention on my breath and just feel myself settle down. And then the third thing I do is set the intention that the right thing happens for everyone concerned. So then that's my preparation, and then I'm ready to go.
Brilliant. When you say set the intention for everyone concerned, I know what that means because I study personal development. For a lot of people maybe who aren't familiar with that, can you elaborate a bit more what you mean by set the intention for those concerned?
Sure, yeah. So like for this that we're doing now, I set my intention that you guys get what you need so that your podcasts are very consumable and that people want to listen to it, that the people listening to it get value from what we're talking about, that we have a good time, and that for me giving value to people, then that may be reciprocated in some way sometime in the future. So that was my intention for this. And so if you're in a sales conversation, it's like that the prospect gets what they need and I get what I need. Does that help?
That helps. Fantastic. Thank you. And Keith, how do you listen to people? What do you do so they know you're listening?
That's a really great question, because how do you communicate when you're not talking? And 93% of all communication is non-verbal to start with, actually. So that's kind of interesting. So it's positive affirmation in terms of nodding your head, raising your eyebrows if you are just responding, you don't completely agree with something, but there's no need to interrupt. You can do that actively because you want to give away that body language. You want to show that you've registered that and you're not necessarily 100% agreement. Or you can passively, you can leak, which is something we'll come on to in another show as well. So yeah, I'm affirming. I want them to tell me more about that, without even asking. I'm nodding and I'm encouraging the client to tell me as much as possible about their particular issue, because I might just discover some real gold dust that I can concentrate on a little bit further on in the conversation and uncover more about that and exactly why they're having the pain that they are. because that's what we're trying to do. So listening doesn't have to be just about shutting up. It's about really actively getting your client to the point where they trust you enough to tell you that real gold dust. And if you're really good at it, they will tell you stuff they don't tell anyone else. There's a very close correlation between being in sales and being a counselor, and listening is at the heart of both of those pursuits and endeavors.
It's interesting. They tell you stuff they don't tell anybody else. One or two clients have confided in me that I know things about them that nobody else knows. And I feel actually proud they've told me that. And I agree with everything you've said. I also believe not interrupting is a very important part of listening. And also listen to somebody's tone and how they say things. So if you ask a client, how are you with your current supplier? They can go, yeah, they're great, which is positive. But a lot of the time they go, yeah, it's fine, it's great, which is a very different thing. And most sales reps and most business people don't pick up on that. They go, oh, things are great. Okay, so can I call you in 6 months? Without thinking of the person's tone and how they've reacted to that. I think that's very, very important in sales. It's not just what somebody says, it's what somebody doesn't say. So a lot of our podcast is about sales training, but so much of it, of course, is about well-being, because well-being plays such an important part, not just in sales, but in business as well. So Mags, when people are having an off day in sales, which happens to all of us, what can they do to help themselves feel better about it?
The first thing for me would be to step back and take a breath. So go for a walk, do something nice, even give yourself permission to say, do you know what, I feel really rubbish today, I'm not going to get anywhere, let me just walk away for today and then come back refreshed tomorrow. Because if you're on a downward trend and you're not feeling good, then it's like you said, how people say things. So when I did like sales conversations and I was feeling stress, especially it was like, I need this sale, that was transmitted to the person I was speaking with, and that they could feel it. You can feel it if somebody's like, I really want you to buy this, or if you're stressed, or if you're feeling frazzled, or you turn up, with your hair all over the place and, you've just rushed in, they feel that. So if you're not feeling good, you're not going to sell well. So, give yourself permission just to quit for that day and give yourself some space and then get yourself back on track. And would you like me to, well, I'll elaborate a little bit more. So to get yourself back on track, get some space. If you're feeling frazzled, maybe meditate, do some breathing on the breath, just put your attention inside and be able to calm down. Make sure you get a good night's sleep, because sleep is so, so important. I don't know about you guys, but if I don't get a good night's sleep, I'm evil.
Yeah, it's interesting. So many of the points you've made there, meditate, breathe. This has consistently been said by all our guests so far. Yet at the same time, you brought up one or two really good points, which nobody's mentioned, which is give yourself permission to say, I feel rubbish, acknowledge it, and walk away. And that's really, really important. And the second thing, of course, is a good night's sleep. I spent 10 years as an insomniac. Before I was an insomniac, I had hair. And I was much skinnier. And believe it or not, you don't sleep well, it does affect your weight as well. And now I'm a very good sleeper, because first of all, I've got a very, sadly expensive but very good quality mattress, which helps. The second thing is I don't look at my screen at least 1 hour before bed, no TV, at least 1 hour, which is quite hard to do. And the third thing is I drink loads of chamomile tea and relaxing tea in the evening. So I just think this is important to mention. What else can you do to get a good night's sleep, Mags?
Good question, because this is a passion of mine, to get sleep. And you've already mentioned some of them about the screen and making sure your bed's comfortable. I don't have a TV in my bedroom, and I never have. So that's part of the screen thing. But don't have a TV because it's stimulating. The other thing I do, for me, it's really important to have the room dark, to have blackout curtains, because when it's dark, your circadian rhythm, so the rhythms of being awake and asleep and all that sort of stuff. That's the non-technical term. When it's dark, that's when your body wants to go to sleep. So I always make sure I've got darkened curtains, so that when I want to go to sleep, I can go to sleep. And then in the morning, when the dawn comes, there is a bit more light, so you do start to wake up. But making sure that your bedroom is really a calm place and that it's uncluttered. Because if there's a big pile of washing, or if you do your ironing in there, or if it's, there's stuff on every surface, you're not going to feel that calmness to go to sleep. And obviously things like not having tea and coffee late at night, because you'll just, and alcohol as well, to be honest, because that disrupts your rhythm, and you'll wake up around 3-4 o'clock in the morning, because that's like your liver time. And I used to, just have a little bit of wine, because it was a nice thing to have. And then I'd wake up at that time and then feel rubbish in the morning. So I actually stopped drinking. So I do have a bit, because I'm not an angel, but I know the consequences of drinking. Yeah. And
now, you mentioned something about waking up 3-4 o'clock in the morning there and sleep, because it hasn't been that long, I don't think, since humankind began sleeping all night long uninterrupted. Very often, and I'm not the expert here, but very often it would be that the village would go to sleep at night. They would wake up and they would pray for their souls, for the devil not to take away their souls in the middle of the night, and then they would go back to sleep again. Is that right? Did I misread that, Mags?
I've read about that as well. It was like that we're not meant to sleep all night. I think there's a lot of theories. I'm into Ayurveda, so that's an ancient healing system, and it's Indian of origin. And they sort of say, get to sleep about 10 o'clock at night, and then start to wake up and get going. How early? It's like 7-ish. So you've got a rhythm in your body. So whether that research saying get up at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning and do stuff and then go back to bed, whether it was a ritual, a habit, or something that they did, or whether it's natural for the body, I guess it's for us to test and see how it suits us as individuals. But for me, I like a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I certainly hear that. I also hear a consistency of routine. So, and this is lots of research to support this around, have a go to bed time if you can, have a get up time if you can. Life becomes so much easier and so much less demanding on the body and mind if you can have that routine. There are always exceptions, but going to bed at 11 o'clock one night, 3 in the morning the next, where you're kind of up and down all the time, and lots of inconsistency, it can bring a degree of chaos to the mind in that regard. So some degree of consistency, not always easy to manage, but that's highly important too.
I think so, because it can take time to develop that routine. So some of my clients, they go, oh, I go to bed at midnight, and it's like, well, can you go to bed at 11:30? Can you then go, do that for a week or two, then go to bed at 11, and then gradually bring it earlier and earlier, so then they get up earlier. Because again, we're part of nature, and nature's got rhythms, and we have to find the rhythm for our body, because the whole point of this is that when we're feeling good, when we're feeling energized and upbeat, that energy gets projected to our potential clients, and they go, I want what they've got.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's projected to our clients. Not a lot of people actually think about that or even realize that, but I think it's a really good point you made there. We've got literally less than 5 minutes left, Max. So I want to ask you 2 more questions. So what techniques have you found that really helps you to be in a good space before a sales conversation?
The techniques that I do is I'll make sure that my desk is clear, that my browsers and everything, there's just the one that I'm looking at, because I do online one-to-one, but even if they were coming here, I'd make sure that everything was closed down, so I'm just looking at them, no distraction whatsoever. So that gives me focus. I go quiet and just be calm on my breath so that I'm centered, so that I can be focused, so that I can listen. And sometimes I might use essential oils and things like that to assist with that. So I've got, I don't know if you can see it, I've got a little burner in the corner there, because then that's nice as well. And again, this setting the intention that the prospect gets the best for them and that I get the best for me, because we might be sowing seeds for the future. We may get the sale, we may not. We may start a relationship and a process where they'll buy later on, or they refer people because they had such a good experience with you and they may never buy. So when we're in a good centered place and we've got that energy and we're giving and we're listening and we're helping, us being in the good space can facilitate that sale, is my experience.
Wonderful. Well, look, you know, one really important part of our show and what we find in sales training, myself and Keith, it's not just what you learn, it's what you implement and take away afterwards. And we have so many amazing takeaways. So from a sales perspective, you know, how can you help people? 75% listening, so, you know, 25% talking, which I think is fantastic. You talk about being a state of being calm and being present. You can tell when someone isn't with you. You talk about having great energy because you can project that energy onto the client, which is probably my biggest takeaway. Having a good night's sleep, having one browser open. Anybody under 30 years old listening to this, please, one browser is all you need. The number of times I see between 15 and 25 browsers open with young people is shocking, and you have at least 15 to 20 emails open at once. I don't know how you can work like that, because it's incredible. Have your desk clear. Having essential oils, I like. I have a Yankee candle, but essential oils is also wonderful. You know, if a client can tell you stuff they don't tell anybody else, that's a big, big plus. So these are just some of the notes I've taken. Keith, what do you want to add to that, please?
Yeah, I certainly clocked the sleep and the routine and mea culpa. I do find it really. I love watching telly. I find that a relaxation. So, but I get the overstimulation just before you go to bed, and I need to manage that really carefully, and I'll certainly do. But I also got what I found really resonated with me was that if you're not prepared, then you unconsciously transmit those stresses to your customer, and that means you're not going to have an optimum sales experience, if you like, meeting experience, whether that's online or face to face. So some great stuff came out of that. Thank you.
Fantastic. And the last thing is, Mags, how can our listeners best contact you? Okay,
so 2 ways. I've got my website, which is magslivetransformationspecialist.com. Or I am on Facebook under the same name, which obviously you guys found.
Wonderful. Well, look, thank you so much for joining us, Mags. We know how to get in touch with you. If you have any questions, any points you want to raise about future shows, or if you want to hire Neeraj and Keith for sales training, please email us, hello@thrivinSales.com. We'd love to hear from you. Also, don't forget to press subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
This episode brought to you by Monkey Pants Productions, who are a podcast production company helping businesses enter the world of podcasting through bespoke workshops and professional standard recordings. For more information, email pete@monkeypantsproductions.co.uk.
Now, Keith and I are both massive fans of the TV show Frasier. So until next week, we are both wishing you
good sales, mental
mental
health.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.